Because you
We're
said
not
America,
honest.
And
you
you
said
are?
America was diverse. You said America was more diverse than Africa, but scientists say Africa is the most diverse continent in the world. So
Yeah, I
y'all
just
aren't
seen a
even
We're
honest
study
looking at
on
people.
that.
phenotypes or genotypes?
Hold on. I got something. An African just literally made a video on this. Hold on a second. 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 Oh, there we go.
Bomboclat.
Look at that. This African, right? So called. Y'all not Africans for real. She said Africans are not black, and it said she gave this little study because she was making a video and she was saying we should not call her y'all selves black. You see that at the bottom? She says I am not black because she says she feels like it erases people's their uniqueness.
Okay,
Someone
What
on
we've
I
TikTok
can
actually
has an
explain that
off-color
actually.
overview.
hold on. What we've actually been stating, and she's just repeating what we're stating. But you see how she's making a video about it, and it says right there, Africa exhibits the highest level of genetic diversity among all human populations. This is based off of the most up-to-date studies. How do y'all feel about that?
Let me explain.
This genetic
Sorry,
diversity,
can
that
I
just
say
I
exists
actually
for
something?
people
second
with
that. Can I explain second?
phenotypes.
Okay. Let me see it second. See.
No, Mo, you can go ahead. I'll just second.
Okay. So that one about America. Okay, let's talk about Africa now, because that's where the topic is now. So Africa now is very diverse. Like in this picture you show in the background, you see West Africans, you see South, North, whatever. We as a continent are diverse. We are diverse, but then seeing like America, America,
Exactly, Jonathan.
you guys that are Americans, you guys are from one type of culture. But us in Africa, we have different types of culture. That's why we as a people, we don't really identify with our race. We identify with our ethnicity. You
Yeah.
understand?
Hence why we have tribes. And
I don't
even
believe
within
that.
the
I don't
tribes, we
believe.
are you
Well,
don't
it's
have
not
to
up to whether you
believe. We're
believe it or
telling
not.
you
It's how
our
it's
So again, you heard what he said there. They identify with that ethnicity. That's very important. Like if you identify with your ethnicity and you create borders, beyond that, having that, you don't really need borders, but like, space. Like this is something that we kind of like you would think that we kind of did after the period of the old west. After that period, like when people were settling everywhere and you had people bringing different newly averse businesses and new ventures. Like when we had the house that's 40 acres away from another house, a house 10 miles or 10 miles away from another house. When we had sense to live apart from one another, everything made sense. Everything made sense. So like when you have an ethnicity, right? This is how you don't get the person coming down the street in a car shooting at an innocent crowd or an innocent bystander. This is how you don't get that. When you have ethnicity, because like ethnicity, right? When you look at it, right? It just means equal. It just means you're not around people who don't look like you. You're not around people who don't carry your beliefs. You're not around people who don't speak your language. Doesn't mean you all aren't 12th generational cousins. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean that you're not a distant cousin to this person. It just means that you're from a different tribe. You have a different ethnicity. So, like, when I hear him talk and I hear him talk about these things, like, it just makes more sense. Like you understand it. You know what I mean? Like, I think like as long as America is here and it's around, is you're gonna have political issues everywhere happening. You know what I mean? Like, you look at what happens in America, right? Black people don't serve themselves at all. So you can easily attribute Ukraine and Russia dropping a bomb on Ukraine. You can easily attribute that to something that happened in America with black folks. You know what I mean? Because like when you spread a negative energy or a negative attitude, it goes boundless to any other place. And how do you stop it? How do you stop negative energy? You know, it's like some people would just go out there, people will just go out their way to be negative. You know what I mean? Like people will just go out their way to be negative towards you. And it's like, you didn't even garner it. You didn't even ask for that situation to happen. Like this person just brings negative energy towards you. And it's like, me personally, I don't have time for that. You know, like the people who I draw my circle around, who I consider like to be as close to me, are as people I would consider to be as respectful. You know what I mean? Like if a person is respectful, this person has my utmost outright loyalty. You know what I mean? Like they have my utmost loyalty, because like if a person is going to go out their way to be respectful, you know, they have a respectful aura about them. They won't cheat you. These are people that you have to draw your circle around. These are people that you have to attract. These are people that you have to be near. And like, you know who people really are, because it's like, you are who you are from the time you get out the bed in the morning. You know what I mean? To the time you wash your face, to the time you put on your shoes and step outside the door, you are who you are. And your aura, your shining light, that shining gold, is gonna be over you if you are that person. And if it's not gonna be with you. And people are gonna spot that immediately, and they're gonna avoid you. So again, like I look at the fact that you have people who you know, it's weird, man, because it's like I always look at people who end up in a situation where it's just like they couldn't avoid it. You know what I mean? Like they couldn't avoid it. Wrong time, wrong place, you know, and bad fortune just met them, right? You look at these people and how that thing sort of happens, and you find out how people are always in the wrong place. Like they can't help their bad fortune. And you see these things happen, and it's like when things happen to people, and like their family try to wonder like, why did this happen and why did that happen? It's like you had to know why it happened. You had to know why it happened. It's like we can't play this whole idea that, you know, people aren't picking on Africans just because they're African or they look a certain way. We see this happening in America repeatedly. You have to know who you are. You know, it's like you can't be that person who's, you know, you look like who can I say, right? You're that person who look like Isaac Hayes. Okay, you look like Isaac Hayes, right? But you're always putting people who look like I can't think of his names. Lionel Richie. You always putting a person who looks like Lionel Richie on a pedestal. You're always playing Lionel Richie's music. But you're Isaac Hayes, right? You know what I mean? Like you give all the creditization to a person who looks like Lionel Richie. Next hit come out, you're playing someone else's music, and this person looks like 21st century. I don't know. No, not 21st century. I can't think of their names. the silvers. You're playing the silvers. You're giving all admonishment to the people who look like the silvers. You're playing their music now. It's kind of like the person who says, Larry Bird is better than Michael Jordan. I grew up a Larry Bird fan. I grew up wearing Michael Jordan shoes. I only wore his shoes, right? Yeah, I only wore shoes when I couldn't afford them, so I never wore any other basketball player's shoes. So it's like, you look at that fact, right, and you say, how did something like that happen? And like, people make these people will look African. These people, they won't look African, but they'll be African American. They'll go out their way to, bash LeBron James, bash any player like who had a black family. You know what I mean? Like, who did everything that they could to put success first, minded their business, stayed out the way. These type of people, the LeBron James, they get bashed. And like, you see this repeatedly, where you have a culture of people who look African. They put people over Africans who don't look African. You see this culture repeatedly. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, like, I don't know where that self-hate comes from. I don't know where it comes from. So like, the guy Montemuse, he's allowed Africans to come on stage, and like, they've been able to draw up a conversation with him, and like, they know how he looks, right? But it's kind of like one of those things where they're like baiting him. Maybe secretly they admire him. But I'm sure they don't like what he's doing. But it's like, you're there. You're supporting what he's doing. Either if you disagree with him, you don't agree with him, doesn't matter. You're there supporting what he's doing. So it's like, how do you deal with a situation where it's like, you have a people who have so much self-hate, so much self-animosity, and they can't put one and two together what's happening around them. They can't put one and two together what's happening around them. Everybody's not listening to your music. I heard Ibrahim Touré, he said, let me quote this. Africans in the West, come back home. Leave the West, come back home. Leave the U.S., come back home. Now you have Burkina Faso, who's going to allow dual citizenship in their country. What is this? What are we really looking at now? What are we really looking at? Because I wouldn't join a fight of, like, okay, I'm already home, right? I understand that, but it's like, I wouldn't join a fight of trying to convince a people that, yeah, I'm home. Yeah, I'm glad to be home. Yeah, I'm going to stay home. No, I want to open my horizon and see that, maybe there's a possibility that I can leave America and go to Africa and just cut everybody off here that I knew in America. Why not? What is that going to cost me? What is that really going to cost me? And I think ultimately, a lot of people who are claiming American Indian, a lot of people who are claiming Native American heritage, they're going to look at this a totally different way, where they find out, the primitive culture is really in Africa. They're the only ones who are walking around these little small pockets, where there's rural villages, rural boondocks, eating monkey and bush meat with feathers in their hair and beads on their waist and no shoes with zebra pouches. Africans the only one doing this, and they're doing it primitively. You can't even do this in America. If you try to do this in America and you have kids, you best to believe someone is going to call a Department of of Children's Services on you, and the children are going to be picked up because they're going to have boils on their skin, you know, from all the mosquitoes biting them. Because you living in a tent in Atlanta, Georgia somewhere, they're going to pick the kids up. They're going to pick the kids up. So listen, like these are the things that are going to happen. The closest people try to portray to being this type of, you know, savage, because you hear it in the music, savage, savage, savage. You hear it in the music. The closest thing that they have to that type of culture, when you're hunting for bushmeat, right? You're boiling the monkey paw. You're eating the monkey paw. The closest that they have to that is what, rap, hip hop? That's the closest that they have to it. They don't have any type of skills that would say they can live outside of a house without a commercial or an ad on the television telling them how to live, or what device to pick up from a corner store so they can live more conveniently in a commodity and commercial society. They have no idea. They have no idea. You know, like I used to think, like when I used to live in Chicago, right? And I would be out there with, you know, family members, and we would be outside all night. Like I would be like 14 years old. We would be outside in the back barbecuing until like 2 a.m. in the morning, 1 a.m. in the morning, just in the back listening to music. Like this is how, you know, like when you living, right? And you're living for the moment, and you're kind of just like, you're enjoying life. You're not worried about anything. You know, you're young. Like nothing's really happening. You're just enjoying life. And like you would hear people outside, you know, 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to the time you got up in the morning. You would still hear people outside. You know, and it's like you think about this and you say, can people really do without? Like right now, you can imagine without like living with the internet. You can imagine without living with it. But you go back 10 years, add another 5 onto it. We were living without the internet, really. Yeah, you had broadband in the house. You know, it was hooked up to the telephone, and in order to use the internet, you couldn't use the phone at the same time, not the home phone. Okay. You had something then. You know, like you were outside all day. You were enjoying the day. You were enjoying everything. And like now, when you look at it, it's like it's completely different. It's different. Now we have the internet, and it's like you're starting to see wars that, you know, people just that aren't able to keep silent about it. You know, like when you're scrolling through social media and it's like you get these short videos, you're seeing like people tell stories about what happened here, what happened there, and you're starting to see like short videos about, you know, people doing their, like you see when you're watching short videos, right? You see Africans arguing with African Americans, African Americans instigating arguments. Like if Africans were very smart, they'll just say, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. It's like having a sibling, and that sibling constantly gets under your skin, you know? And it's like, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? You know what I mean? That's how I see African Americans towards Africans. How do you deal with that? And then you have the thing that, you know, white people, they're just enjoying life. They're going to the top of the mountain, sledding all the way down the slope. It's not even a slope mountain. Like they're just hopping with skis on from mountain to mountain. Just they're showing the world like we've conquered you all. We've done everything. While you're in a house, we're outside, making trips, traveling the world. Like if you see an airplane landing on a strip, you already know like 80% of the passengers are white. And it's like, how were they able to do these things? Like where you're just able to travel. How is it that you got the latest synthesizer, or the latest kit, or the latest artificial intelligence video maker or something like that? And it's like you're able to do these things, and it's like black people don't even have internet really. Like even if you have internet, you still don't have the certain things that they have. It's almost like they had internet way before black people even had it. And it's like they had more on their systems, more on their logs than like what black people have right now, the ones who do have internet. It's like they have more material, more devices. You know what I mean? Like anytime you look at a tutorial about something, that you may have just figured out about, like, you may have figured it out, right? It's like they've been had it. It's like they're showing you how to do it. And you know what I mean? Like who uploads a video about, spray painting a certain material, a certain surface, and you're wondering like how are they able to know about this? You know what I mean? Like what were they doing all these years? It could be anything, and it's like they're the first to it. They're the first to break the code. And it's like you'll see channels of people just haven't uploaded, and they've been doing this 15 years, and it's like how do you get past that? I don't know, but it's something that you have to think about if you are an African, because although we specialize in like history, we specialize in like the arts of like humanity and like communication and liberality, like we specialize in that, okay, but what about the other things? What about math? What about science? You know what I mean? Why haven't we defeated this hunger? Why haven't we defeated science? Why haven't we defeated world hunger? Because if you're around someone that's hungry and you got meat on your body, you're going to be a problem. And like I always knew this growing up, because it was like when I used to live in Chicago, right? I will always get challenged by kids my size, or not kids my size. Well, I would say kids who were a little slimmer than me. They would challenge me because I was a little chubby, and like it would always be a problem. Like the kids, they would be jealous of the fact that, I had a little meat on my body. Now it's like kids who don't have meat on their body, like today, right? It's the new fashionable thing to have skinny jeans, the blazer shoes, and that whole thing. And I'm so out of touch with today's culture, though. It's like I'm so out of touch with it. It's like I always wonder like where these new trends come from. Like it's weird to me. It's like do they come from Europe? Like where do they come from? Because I'm constantly seeing black people mix with everybody who don't look like them. I'm constantly seeing it. They're listening to everybody's music. They don't listen to their own music. Like you ask the average black person, like, do you know who Fela Kuti is? They don't know who Fela Kuti is. You ask the average black person, do you know who Burna Boy is? They don't know who Burna Boy is. You ask the average black person, like, do you still listen to Erykah Badu? Like, Do you go to her concerts, the concerts that she do have and the shows that she do host? They'll say, oh, I haven't listened to her in years. This is what I mean, man. It's like black people, like, we're a lost tribe, man. And it's like, it's weird to me because it's like we put everybody on a pedestal. And it's like, these are the very people that's killing you every day through all methods. They're killing you. They're killing you. And you can't figure out why it is that you're stuck in this child mindset, that you're so attracted to someone who is just not above you. You know, they're equal to you, but they're not above you. And even in the sense that they're equal, they don't share ethnicity. A black person can mix with a white person, any other type of person, you know, whoever they may be, a Melungeon, whoever. And you can create a new offspring of a person. Black people will just adopt them and say, this is me, this is me. And now what you see is people have caught on to that. And like what they'll do is they'll make a joke about it. They'll say things like, you know, well, does black crack? Does black crack? You know what I mean? But then in the second motion, in the second answering, they'll say, well, I'm not really black, and make a joke about it. You know what I mean? Like this is where we're at in black sense. This is where we're at. You know, I don't befriend everybody. I don't accept everybody to be around me. I don't, you know, I don't have hatred in my heart. I don't have hatred for anyone. I've never done anyone wrong in the sense of going after them or, you know, ill favoring them. I've never done that. You know, I've had enough examples around me of people doing that to other people that I knew, or maybe the people who I knew doing it to other people who I didn't know, or people who were near me who were not in my circle but did it to me. You know, I've seen enough of that, you know? And like, you know, I really say this to people, man. It's like, if you're going to be serious about unity, you can't make this about a war of words. At least know the language before you speak in it. Like, you know, this is why I don't do community tabs. I don't do it. I don't sit up there and argue with people and at people. I don't do it. I don't sit there and say, your people is not old. Your people haven't contributed anything to civilization. I don't say that. The thing that I always say when I see people who need guidance or people who lack self-understanding is I say, you see that human over there? Don't matter what color they are. They have two legs. You see who you are? You don't have 3 legs or 4 legs. You have 2 legs. You have the same amount of toes as that person do who you're sitting in front of arguing. So you need to know how you got here and how you all hold a certain equalness and equation. You need to know that. No one is more special than anyone. It's just the people who've been together the longest, who had the most peace, just happen to have the most people on earth. When you look at Africans, they've had the most peace amongst each other. This is why they outnumber everyone. Look at the continent of Africa. You drop with people here on this part of the planet, that part of the planet, they are outnumbered the people who are native to that particular part of the planet. This is because they have the most peace amongst each other over the years. When I see a shooting on the news, I might be looking at Woods TV, you know, Grand Rapids, Detroit or somewhere. I'll be looking at, you know, oh, let's see the suspects on the news and see who did the shooting. And it's always the people who look the same. And it's like you get friction just from being, you know, near people who look like that. You get friction. You get distaste in your mouth. You start to count. You start to move the needle and say, do I need to sell my home? is it time for me to make the jump to move to Africa? Why are the people who live around me not making that jump? Why are the people who living around me not making an investment to keep the community safe? And then you look at it, it's like, there goes them people. These were the people who look like Isaac Hayes, who was always playing Lionel Richie's music. Peace. Understand what I'm saying. Don't take it the wrong way. It's a conversation that we all need to have. We all need to have this conversation. You know, why aren't black people supporting their own blacks? You know, I look at what Cameron did over the years, and I was like, I've always been attracted to Cameron. Always. Even since he wore pink. I've always been attracted to him. When I was a teenager, I would go up to the laundromat and get his DVD that he used to freestyle on in the movies he used to make. I used to always go up there and ask my mom for money, or like if she didn't give me money, like I would have money saved up from working. I would go up there and, you know, get the DVD. You know, I would get the DVD. And it was like, you know, I'm 14 years old. You know what I mean? You know, and like most of the time my mother would be like, she didn't have the money or something like that. But like I would have the money, you know, in senses that, you know, I had been working around that time. Like if I'm working and it's like it's a diplomat's track, you know, in season, because like you couldn't go on the internet and just like download it unless you had the internet. You know, I would go up there and be like, let me get this, let me get that, you know, and I'll walk back home. You know, I get the DVD, get the album, and, you know, buy a bootleg, and I'll go back home. And you look at what he's doing right now with Mace. They have a dope podcast. Both of these brothers, they're black, same complexion. Their co-host, the lady, she's black as them, right? This is what I'm saying. Cameron, he wasn't stupid. He wasn't slow about this. Cameron tell you in a second, I know what I'm doing. Because look, when you look at media, it's like we don't have, when you think of foundational black Americans, right? Okay, you see Tariq Nasheed, you see Cameron, you see Mace, you know, like, why does it have to be Tariq Nasheed who have, you know, a bad word for Busta Rhymes? It's like when we were coming up, like New York, Chicago, we were vibing together. I don't know, like, was it California? Like why, like who has bad words for Busta Rhymes? A pioneer of hip hop. Just because he's of Jamaican origin. That is a black brother. Like, really? Like, Busta Rhymes is no different than Cameron to me. Both of them black brothers. Foundational black Americans. Both of them to me. I don't sit there and say, oh, Busta Rhymes, he's a tether, or he's Jamaican, so he's not like us. I don't say that. I don't say that. I do not say that. And like, I want people to start to vibe together. I want people to start to understand, like, we are all we got, man. And it's like, Africans, don't be arguing with, you know, these people who want to feel like they're Native American or American Indian. It's like, I just did a video on this and I wasn't even going to upload it. It took me like a day or two to upload it, where I was just going to sit there and just not upload it. African Americans, you know, the jet black ones, right? The original ones. You know, they were the ones who were in Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt, Northern Chad. They were in these places before we came to America. We were in these places. This is how you can get a black person in America and a black person in Africa. They look alike. They share the same hue, but they're so far apart. You wonder, like, how did African Americans get pushed so far west? you know? And then again, it's like, hey, if you got concrete in the Pacific Ocean and in the Atlantic Ocean, then it's not far to say it was probably soil and concrete and buildings in these parts of the world where there's oceans now. You see what I'm saying? So people, man, like, wisen up, man, get smart. Don't grow up to want to be a gangbanger. Don't grow up to want to be someone who is pushing agendas, you know, having to be a troll all the time. Because, like, to me, like, that's the two biggest no's to me. Like, you know, those are the two biggest no's. No. Those are the two biggest no's in the community. People who want to grow up and be gangbangers and people who want to grow up and be trolls. Like when I see the guy, what is his name? He's from New York. He used to troll the people in, you know, Chicago. He used to troll the people. I forgot his name. Academics. Don't be a troll. You know, it's like you got these two cultures emerging, right? And they're on social media everywhere. And it's like you got the person that's trolling and you got the person that's in the street saying he's going to do something to the person that's trolling them if he sees them. Don't be these two people. Don't be these two people. Because, like, however you look at it in a coincidence of things, right? If you're pushing something and something is happening as an effect on this side or that side, you're leaving this side prematurely open. And it's going to affect you. So when you're trolling, you're basically contributing to having a motherless home, a fatherless home. Don't troll. It's like a mother raising a child who's going to be a troll without a father. Don't be these people. Don't be these people. And, like, I have to say that, man, because it's like when I open my laptop in the morning and, you know, I'm getting ready to make my music and, like, I'm getting there, I'm getting ready to write a book. You know, it's like I'm seeing things come across my screen that I don't necessarily want to see. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see it, you know? So while they're sitting up here and they're having this conversation about who's right and who's wrong, it's like it's not even worth having that conversation. It's like these conversations really, like, they've really gotten old when you really look at it from the scheme of things. They've really gotten old, you know, talking about who's indigenous and who isn't. You know, it's like, do you not see these two people have two legs like you? Just because they're lighter or they're darker, like, bro, it's like if you're dark, right, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it takes a white person to have a lighter skinned child. Two dark skinned people can have a lighter skinned child. You know what I mean? It's possible. So it's like when we're having these conversations about who got here first, it's like we know who got here first. Like, we've seen the images of albinos living in places like Eastern Africa, right? And they have, like, African parents, and we've seen albino neighborhoods in places like America, right? In rural places of, like, Indiana. We've seen these things. You know, it's like, how can you sit there and just say it doesn't exist now because you're trying to make a point, or the point you're trying to make is running dry? I just don't understand why people try to go about things, doing things the hard way. You know what I mean? Like, today was Savior's Day. Like, it would have been perfect for me to have this conversation and talk. But, you know, it's like Ramadan is approaching. Like, you know, be easy. Be easy at best. You know what I mean? Just like, don't even look at this stuff from, you know, a closed eye viewpoint. You know what I mean? Like, people are going to continue to create havoc for themselves, and like you just don't want to go that route. You know what I mean? Like it's a great time to be alive. It's like get your money, travel. Like it's awesome people out there, man. Like everybody's not bad in this world. You know what I mean? Everybody's not bad in this world. It's like get your money, do what you have to do, meet great people from abroad. You know, you'll find some bad apples here and there, you know, but again, it's like you don't have to, it's not that big a deal, man. It's not that big a deal. Like even me, I have to be careful, right? Because it's like, you know, they'll smile in your face and like they'll look just like you, but they don't have your best interests at heart. They don't have their own best interests at heart. They don't care about themselves. They don't. They do not care about themselves. So you all have a good one, man. I'm going to go back and listen to some of my old videos. Maybe, you know, share some of my videos. Who knows? But, you know, here's the thing, man. If you want to live a positive life, focus on yourself. Don't focus on anyone else. That's the best advice I have. Great peace. Yakoki.